All right. So look, that's very little on budgeting, but there is a program through CLTD morning on budgeting. Obviously, we go into much more detail there that I can't do here. All right. Otherwise, everybody on board? Cool. So let's wrap up now. So this was the question I think Robert and maybe Sia asked earlier about some funding opportunities. I'm just checking all through myself to make sure that they're all up to date. So I'm going to come back to tips for success in a moment. This, folks, is an overview of the NRF funding. So you might get very confused and not 100% sure where the NRF, the types of grants. So a lot of it starts with the incentive and the NRF rating. So incentive funding comes with the rating. It has been reduced quite drastically, but there's still incentive funding linked to your NRF rating. Then they have a range of programs. Let me start here. Tutuka. So that timeline for the opening call has changed. They've pushed it further, March. In one of my breaks, I just checked if the NRF have finalized their time call schedule for this year. They haven't still. We're still waiting for it. And the delay is because the NRF Online is about to change. They've got a new thing called NRF Connect, I think it's called. And I haven't seen it. I have no idea what it looks like. And so there's quite a lot of uncertainty in the system at the moment. So things are being delayed. But Tutuka, normally March, April type of thing. SACHI and COE, these are for top-level researchers. SACHI chairs research, South African Research Chairs Initiative, Centers of Excellence. They haven't had a call here for good number of years, maybe even 4 years, I think. Unlikely to have any in the near future. That's why I put there intermittently. THRIP unfortunately has left. That was a wonderful program to work with industry. It does exist, but industry has to apply on your behalf. We used to apply on behalf of industry. And so if you get involved with the industry partner, you can tell them about THRIP, but they have to take the initiative. And no doubt you'll have to help them with that. They have this thing called idea development. It's for funding workshops about new research areas. Call any time of the year, starting off new research projects, new research areas, not so much project related, but getting people together to talk about, left-handed artificial intelligence or, something brand new. Blue skies. So this is an area of high-risk research. So it might not yield anything in the short term. It's very sort of out there. It's not incremental in any nature. It's really revolutionary ideas and high-risk ideas. They do fund some of those. NEP, National Equipment Program, for funding large pieces of equipment. I am expecting a call this year. We skipped last year. We didn't have one last year. Competitive support for rated researchers and competitive support for unrated researchers. Clearly, whether you're rated or unrated, you apply differently, but they're standard grants, 3-year grants that in any discipline, once off only in the unrated, because they really want you to get an NRF rating, as many times as you can for the competitive support for rated. But of course, you're competing here with all other rated researchers, so they're all established and really good. Strategic programs, they have a number of those directed programs that I spoke about early on in various areas, and you've just got to look up the list. They don't all apply every year, but there's one, for example, on African origins, and so it's all about fossils and heritage and things like that, archaeology and whatnot. They have another one on the coelacanth environment project. Whoops, sorry, pushed the wrong button. The strategic project on coelacanths and the environment. So you can see very fine, specific area of research. Quite a lot on astronomy in here as well. While these other programs, competitive support and Tutuka, any field, there's no restriction on the type of area in the research. And then they have these international collaborations. These are what they call bilaterals, sometimes trilaterals. So this is when two countries get together and fund joint projects between researchers in those two countries. So there's a whole host of countries, and you've got to have your collaborator in the other country applies in their system, and you apply in the South African, the NRF system. They get together, they make decisions jointly, and then you get your funding separately from the two different funding agencies. So these things happen at all times of the year. There's no set time. You just got to look out for them. So if you do have a collaborator in another country, keep them hot, keep them warm, keep working with them. And when a funding opportunity happens between South Africa and that country, drop everything and put in an application and get your collaborator to do on the other side. Both of you have to apply on both sides. You can't just do one for both. And then, of course, there's KIC, which is knowledge interchange and collaboration. This is for conference travel and going to use pieces of equipment in other countries and stuff like that. They have 2 calls in the year, one early March, April, and another one in sort of July, August, somewhere around there. Postgrad bursaries, remember your students have to apply separately now. You used to have grant holder linked bursaries. Unfortunately, they did away with that. Encourage your students to apply, but they can put your grant number or your application number in with their application, and then that will help tie it to your grant. And postdoc fellows, they have one call usually in about April, May, around there, okay, where the postdocs apply. So hopefully a quick overview. That's the link to NRF. Now, if you follow that link, you can see what calls are open. Let me see if I can do that for us quickly. So I'm going to stop sharing and share my internet. So I'm going to go over here, NRF Online. Okay, there it comes up. All right, hopefully you can see this NRF submission system. I'm going to log in. I have to log in. Those are my credentials there. I log in. And then I come here to create application. My application is create. This is where I create a new application. And if I scroll down, you can see no records to display. So there are no open calls at the NRF. As soon as a call opens, you'll see it over here. All right, so, a lot of people phone me up or send me emails. Is the Tutuka call open? You can check for yourself. All right, so remember, it's NRF Online, my applications, create an application, and then you look here. These are the funding categories over here. There's none, so there are no open calls. As I said, I think this system is about to be replaced, this NRF Online system. I have no idea what's coming. I've not seen any preliminary work or anything, so it's all a bit of a mystery to me as well. So at least you can always check there for yourself, okay? Let me go back. Other places to find. I'm just reading here. When in the opening and closing date of the NRF competitive funding for rated. Yeah, I don't know, Prudence. As I said, we're waiting for the call schedule. When they give us a schedule for all the grants, I have no idea. Okay, and I've asked my colleague to follow up and find out, and we're not getting anywhere. So apologies for that. As soon as we know, we'll let everybody know. How do we let everybody know? Well, that's the other thing. In fact, let me show you live. This is the intranet. So lots of people don't use the intranet, but I think it's quite a powerful way of finding out funding opportunities for us. So, oh, I've clicked on the wrong thing again. Sorry. Let me share with you the intranet. All right, so let me go to the intranet. You know, the WITS intranet. You have to be on campus or have your VPN working to log in. All right, so that's what the intranet looks like if you haven't used it before. Always got that big word up there, intranet. So only WITS people can see this. Now, under academic and learning activities, find research office. Now, there's some specific things there. Resources available, strategic partnerships, support, postdoctoral claim form. But we're going to go to the main research office. So I click there, and then I look over here, research support, research funding. Yeah, that's the one I want. So if I click on research funding, I've got a list. There are 3 calls that we're advertising. They disappear once the closing date has come, and they have little signs new when it's freshly put up. Or, you know, if the list gets very long, then you can come here, postgrad scholarships, postdoctoral funding. You know, we categorize them, and you can just filter them with these various blocks, or just scan through and find. And then if you click on one of these, obviously you'll be taken to more information. So there's more information given there. Sometimes there's a document attached or a link here. You see there's a link here to more information. So, you know, don't forget about the intranet. We post all our funding calls there as well. The one NRF call schedule that they'll give us, we'll post it there as well, so that you'll be able to see that as well. So hopefully that's of some help. Now, one more thing I want to show you. Let me just go back to my presentation. Bear with me, Robert. I'll be with you in a moment. Back to the presentation. I want to talk about this one, Research Connect. Now, Research Connect is the funder database that we have. And I think this is what it looks like, although I think they've refreshed it. They've changed that face. And we log in over here, international login. And then once you've logged in, this is what it looks like. And there's a whole lot of search criteria that you have down here. And the opportunities come up here. This is a call open in 2021 deadline. You know, obviously it's a snapshot, but you can see it's a page, the 2,708 items found, page 1 of 271. So clearly I have to go back and refine my search criteria over here. For you to access this, you have to be registered, and I can register you. So just drop me an email and I can register you. Folks, though, if you do register, you're using up a seat. So if you do register, make use of it. If you don't want to make use of it, let me know. I can always deregister you quickly, and then later when you need it, ask me again. Obviously, I don't want to be doing that every Tuesday and back again on the weekend, but you know, I don't mind switching you on and off, giving people access. But we have about 1,100 seats available. So, you know, it's not pressurized. If we use all of those up, then I will be, you know, switching people off if they're not using it. I do get stats on how people use the website. Right, let me pause. I'm sure people have got a few questions there. Right, Robert, is that a active hand?
Yes, it's an active hand, so it's not a question but a comment.
Yep.
I found that NRF announces research calls often on a very short notice. So sometimes you only have a few weeks, sometimes 2 weeks, or you know, perhaps more. So it's actually a good idea to have a vague idea when these calls normally come out.
Yeah.
And to really allocate enough time beforehand and actually start preparing the application even before the call is out. because we're all very busy, you know, we do research, teaching, admin, and sometimes we just have to manage our time really well. Otherwise, we can't write a good proposal in, let's say, 2 weeks' time. While teaching and doing admin, it's not possible.
No, absolutely. So they have this thing called the one call schedule, where they give us a schedule for all their calls that they know about, at least for the year. And this is what we're waiting for. Usually it comes in February. It hasn't so far. We're following up. We're asking people in the NRF, where is it? Can we have it? They haven't done it yet. But generally, you can think things like Tutuka, competitive support for rated, unrated. Those calls happen in the first half of the year, March, April, May, somewhere around there. Then there'll be a second batch of calls that will happen July, August, somewhere around there. So for the best bet I can give you is that. But as soon as we've got the one call schedule, presumably they will give it to us. I will post it on the intranet there. I'll also send it out to heads of schools and assistant deans of research. So, you know, we'll spread it quite broad. What we're also doing is looking to develop another way of trying to get funding opportunities to the academics. What I try and avoid to do is send an email to every academic in the university, because that just clogs up, and, you know, what happens, people then just delete them, because, you know, to send a call on, you know, engineering application to people in health science is just a waste of time, or their time and my time and whatnot. So it's a very blunt approach, that. But we're trying to come up with a way, and we're working with ICT to have a portal where you can register, and then you can say, yes, I'm interested in calls, so now I want to see all the calls that are available, and we can push them to you. But then you can say, all right, I've got my grant now. It's a 5-year grant, so for the next 2 years, I'm not going to be thinking about, and then you can take yourself off that list. So that's something that we're working on. Always trying to improve our communication, but also, you know, never hesitate to you know, call me or Yolanda Davids, or you know, any of us in the research office, really, and we'll point you to information that we know about. All right. So, but uncertain there, and unfortunately, but not too much I can do about it just at the moment. All right, last slide. I think I want to go back to that one called tips. So one of the documents that I hope Candace has sent you is a list of tips to help you with sort of summarize everything that we've spoken about. And I've put some of them here, but I think I've laid it out much nicer in the guide. The tips, I think it's 10 tips for success, it's called. I will check with her that she has sent it to you. If not, she will send it afterwards. So it's just trying to summarize everything that I've said. And it might be useful for you to, I don't know, print it on a piece of cardboard or something like that, and, you know, pull it out with a plastic sleeve around it, and just to remind yourself of these key things that I've said, you know, about selecting the right funder, and then using a service attitude. How can my research help that funder meet its agenda? But then also being grantsmanship, things like flagging the key vital pieces of information, thinking about your reviewer reading your application. How can you help them? And that type of thing. Those sort of things are what I'm trying to get around there. So I will check that you've got that. I will also ask Candace to send you a feedback form for this workshop, where you can tell me how to improve my delivery or the content of my workshop. I do take those seriously, so please do take the 5 minutes necessary to fill that in. I'm always looking to improve this. one of the criticisms of obviously is always we'd love to make it more practical, that I actually came away with something written down, around a grant application. Well, it's difficult to do it, online, but when we do the Tutuka workshops, for example, we'll be much more practical and actually get you to write those or start writing some of those sections there. It's much easier to do it for a specific program. But yeah, it's something that we can always work on. All right, so as you can see, that's my last slide over there, wishing you well. That's what the Great Hall used to look like. Some people have only ever seen it with scaffolding all over it, but I'm told it will be finished by September, so that'll be great. Sia, please clarify for me, Robin, what is Research Connect platform for? It's a funder database. So there's funding opportunities all over the world. And one of the search criteria that you see on the left there, Sia, is where are you based? So if, some funding opportunities are not available to us because we're in South Africa, not because we're South African, but because we're doing the work in South Africa. And then you say, I'm in South Africa. Then you get the funding opportunities that are available to me. And then you can also choose, I want research funding or student funding or travel funding or, the type of funding. So you're getting access to funding opportunities all over the world. Remember, I told you, think beyond the NRF. NRF is great, nothing wrong with them. Good. We get about 300 million Rand from the NRF every year for all our grants. Lots of very, very valuable money. But there are opportunities elsewhere. And if you limit yourself to the NRF, you're cutting yourself off from a whole world of funding opportunities. So Research Connect is a database to help you find funding opportunities. And as I said there, that snapshot I showed you, there were, based on those criteria, 2,700 opportunities. So you can refine your search criteria until you can get down to, 5 or 10 or something like that. And then you can look at the details. They give you the details for each. You can click on a link to their specific website. You can find out how to apply, etc., etc. So it really is a powerful tool to help you find funding opportunities. And don't limit yourself to the NRF. NRF is cool, no problem. But there are other great opportunities out there. And remember Renee Leroux. So she helps people put together large funding projects, funding proposals. When I say large, not necessarily in money, but involve many partners. So all European funding opportunities require an African partner. Now, I don't want us just to be the tick box, the African. We've got the African on board, so now we can go ahead and ignore him or her. We need to play leading roles in those projects, but know that they are desperate looking for collaborators with people in Africa. So Renee is there to help you, but she's not going to help you with your NRF grant. That you have to do by yourself.